Oh man, we have a lot of people watching already. Woo! Okay, there it is. Stephen Van Meter. I need you guys to go over right now, out of respect, and subscribe to his channel. We could get him over 30K easily. 30K subs tonight, easy. Okay. Also, kind of want to talk about a video I'm going to leave a link in the comments for. It's kind of an important video. This video that he made right here. It's called Gold Investors. This is a much watch video, guys. I'm not kidding you. I'm not about making blowing up smoke and stuff and making things look better than they should. This is good. This is the best 4 minutes and 41 seconds if you're looking to invest in gold that you will ever watch in your life. And if you read the first comment here by Donkey Balls, he says, "This man can tell it in 4 minutes what others do in 1 hour. This is partially partially down to his speech pattern." I guess the speech pattern he uses is down to earth. It's easy for everyone to understand, and that's why this is like one of my favorite channels to watch on YouTube. And I've been watching it all week in the last 2 weeks in my store on my big TV in my shop. I'm going to give you a link to that video, and we're going to get our guest on right now. It is Mike in the Night, People of the Night. So let's get our man, our one and only. Whoa, he's looking good tonight. All right, Steve, how you doing? Let's get a round of applause for Steven.
Hey, Mike, buddy, man, I'm feeling underdressed. Can I have my cool sunglasses on?
Oh, dude, you look amazing with those, man. You look amazing with those. We talked about those earlier. 1984 MTV?
Yeah, actually, I got them for my pink rabbit, so.
So, you didn't bring the crown?
No, but I got my pink rabbit.
Pink rabbit looks real good. We'll interview your pink rabbit in a few minutes. So, how you doing? Are you okay, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Thanks for having me on your show.
That's good. That's good. I've seen you around. You're getting very famous, and I said, you know what? I'm going to email this guy and see if he wants to come on. And you replied right away. And I was shocked.
You know, when Mike in the Night invites you on, man, you don't turn that down.
I was so shocked. I'm like, okay, this is the showtime. This is that. And I was so shocked that you and then I'm like, okay, great. This is and then we just give you the time, and we're done, and you're here.
Look, you're a fan of my show. I'm a fan of you. Dude, all you got to do is ask, and I'm here, buddy.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it, and that means a lot to me. You have no idea. Okay, Mr. Bond King, we're going to get into a few serious questions, and then we're just going to go into open floor, have some fun, maybe talk to the rabbit a little bit later. But I want to ask you, there's a couple of people, I got some questions on. Let me read the first question. It's on my phone because the person that wants to ask the question is banned from actually commenting on YouTube.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, that happens.
Okay. Mike, please ask Steve, if there isn't inflation, is it because it is indexed against the wages? If QE is going to be deflationary, wouldn't that merely mean asset prices, consumer discretionary, and wage falls, and consumer staples like commodities, food rising? In that case, isn't that stagflation?
Yeah, so I think we need to understand what stagflation is. And stagflation is when you have rising consumer prices and rising unemployment.
Right.
Now, we already have high unemployment. Is it going to go higher? Probably, but at the same time, you have to have rising consumer prices. And it is a possible outcome. I think it's if we do have it, it'll be very short term. It's not my base case scenario. A lot of people think it is. But when I look at deflation, I'm expecting to see wages. Now, I mean, you see wages fall, not in the sense that you actually see people that are working have their wages cut. Maybe they lose overtime hours. What you find out is people just lose their jobs.
Yes.
I mean, that's really where it comes down to. I mean, someone who's making $60,000 a year in a professional job, the boss isn't going to come and say, well, we're going to cut your pay 20%. Those things don't happen. You actually see wages tend to continue to rise consistently even through recessions. Mm-hmm. But what I'm looking for in terms of deflation, I'm looking for a drop in consumer prices, a drop in energy prices. I'm looking for things to asset prices, home prices, stock prices. I'm looking for things to fall in value.
Mm-hmm. Okay, has the pandemic been a bigger drag on the economy since 9/11? That's my question.
A bigger drag than 9/11?
Yeah. What do you how do you feel?
No, but it will be.
Ooh.
So, well, and why would I say that? Because we've just had this massive amount of stimulus that came out, and it's really, I mean, if you want to talk about papering over, the garbage, it really did. Now, if we know stimulus generally lasts 1 or 2 quarters, so it will eventually go away. You're gonna have to. There, thank you. What's wrong? On your face. Oh, mouse is on my face. My wife says. Okay. Um, so eventually this will be worse than 9/11. We just haven't. I mean, because we use the stock market as a barometer. We use housing prices as a barometer. And I'm not saying I'm just saying that's generally what everyone does. We haven't seen it affect that, but when it does, it will become very obvious that the situation is really dire.
Yeah. Okay, 3 weeks till election day. 3.5 weeks. What will happen if the market, if there's a Trump win, a Biden win, best and worst case scenario? This is just your opinion. What do you think will happen?
I don't believe that presidents. I mean, well, obviously Trump's probably the first president to have a massive effect on the markets. I mean, I don't think we've ever seen anyone tweet and you can literally watch the market go up seconds later. I tend to believe the economy is much bigger than any one person, and I don't think whoever is president is going to change what is going to happen. I don't think they can change. I said before this election that Trump did not want to win. In fact, I said Republicans should vote Democrat, Democrats should vote Republican because we're going to see a recession in 4 years. But I mean, what did we do? We just pumped the economy full of tax cuts and all kinds of candy. And what it did is it just extended the economic expansion a little bit farther. So it doesn't matter who really wins. At some point, this whole thing comes apart. And again, the economy is much bigger than one president.
Right. Okay, that's a really good answer to that. That's really good because all you hear on other channels is, oh, if Biden, if that, and it just doesn't. Yeah. All right, the hot topic that's going around. Negative rates, abolishing cash, and going digital. When do you think could that happen in the West, or is that just a pipe dream that happened, or it happened in Europe, but can you see it in the West?
Yeah, negative rates here in the United States, at least without a change to the Federal Reserve Act, aren't going to happen. Part of the problem we see right now is the Fed has to pay interest on excess reserves. Well, they create those reserves from quantitative easing. So actually what we saw post-Great Financial Crisis when they really started doing quantitative easing is they had to make an adjustment to the Federal Reserve Act, and now that's there. So in order for the federal funds rate to go negative, in my estimation, something structural has to adjust to do that. As far as a complete digital currency and abolishing cash, I mean, well, they could do that at some point. I mean, it's inevitable that we will get rid of paper currencies, and look around the world. A lot of people are using credit cards and debit cards. There are still people that use cash, and that will eventually go away.
Okay, that's really good. Okay, we got a question from Raymond from Helsinki, and it's pretty technical. So in this current COVID environment, do you believe the best practice for investors is a dynamic portfolio based around an active security selection?
Boy, no.
No?
I don't.
Okay.
Let me kind of explain kind of my view here is, if you go first, you start to look at why do people diversify? Well, because they're not certain. Right. But it's funny because most people go to college and get 1 degree. If they were really concerned, why don't they get 3? I mean, Mike, how many jobs do you have? How many jobs do I have? I mean, if we really truly believe that what we were doing was uncertain, we would diversify. So does active security selection work? Well, in deflationary environments, it doesn't. I look as an investor and a money manager. What I look at is what's my highest conviction play. I don't actually like diversification because if I'm over concentrated, I can make more money that way. But the key is I have to be right. So if I look at a deflationary environment and a repeat of the great financial crisis, I don't see how active security selection is better than being in an index. I mean, arguably it could be worse, because what if my active selection put me in the highest performing tech stocks that take the biggest crash?
Right. Tech stocks don't look real good right now, actually. Um,
Well, they do look good right now. The problem is, if we go back to, say, the dot-com bubble, they looked great then, and then tech stocks went down 80%. The problem is some of them went down a lot more than others.
right.
So how do you know through active selection you've got the right ones? So I look at it in a whole different view. I'm not big on diversification. I'm big on do a massive amount of research, put all your money on the line, do more research, and when you're right, you get the payoff.
Okay.
But that's not for everyone. I do not recommend that.
For myself, I'm a very active trader. I trade maybe 8 to 13 times a week, and I bounce between gold and oil. That's it, gold and oil. I buy goes down, buy the old buy low, sell high. Okay, we got Dwayne.
I trade once or twice every couple of years.
Really?
Yeah, because in fact, there was a recent interview that Jeff Gunlock gave, and he's obviously extremely, if humbly, the real bond king. I am obviously the self-anointed bond king, and he said that his investing timeline is like 5 years out, and even he agreed, or he stated that, look, the biggest bet is on the longest term.
Mm-hmm.
And so he looks at long-term trends, and he said, look, most people can't wait 5 years. Most investors have, roughly at the most 18 months they can sit in and trade, and that's pushing people. Right. But he's like, if you're willing to look really long-term, you can make a much larger return, and that's the way I look at it too, from a macro perspective. Is, look, why do I need to be jumping around when I can just set it and forget it until the end game, and then come out of that and go into another 2, 3, 5 year view?
Well, okay, that makes absolute perfect sense. Wow, and I see. I used to do that with high dividend paying yield stocks, and paying 4 to 6%. I would usually let it sit, and that did well for a while. And now that you got a lot of dips and stuff, I've been playing around a little bit more. But like you said, if you got the money to put on the line, it's fine. Ooh, we changing the lights.
Yeah, I thought we had a little fun. What do you want? A little Arctic aura? Ooh, that's too dark, huh?
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Okay.
I'm feeling tropical.
So we got a question from Dwayne from South Africa. He can't be live on the show because it's like 4 a.m. there. He asks, artificial prompt injections. How long till this end?
Artificial injections last 1 to 2 quarters right now.
Okay. And then that's
it? Yeah, pretty much. I mean, and look at what we're seeing right now. When did we start getting the injection, the stimulus here in the United States? We got it, starting really heavily in May. Well, It's about 6 months, so 2 quarters.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Question. This is from Dmitry Lenin from Russia is asking, good to see my 2 favorite YouTubers together. Woo! Can you give us a woo? Yeah, baby. Okay. Yeah. So this is one of my questions I put together. Steve, can you give us a vision of what or walk us through what you think a correction would look like? Talk us through if you see a runoff on the banks, would gold soar? What would happen if in your vision, if you start to see the things start to go south? Do you see housing go first? What would happen?
No, what I see is a replay of the great financial crisis, only worse. So how do I see this playing out?
Yeah.
The first thing that's going to happen is we're going to see a short squeeze in the bond market. And I know, Mike, you watch the show, and I know many other viewers do. We're seeing the massive setup in the speculative short positions building for that right now. So we see a short squeeze in the bond market. Now, what's critical about that is we have a dollar shortage. So if you're short something and you're getting squeezed in that position, what do you have to do? You somehow become you have to be a buyer. One way or the other, you become a buyer of that security to hedge your short. Well, if there's a dollar shortage and there's, you now need dollars. Well, the problem is there aren't many of us. Now the dollar starts to rally as dollar demand starts to build. Now you've got bond prices rising. You've got bank lending standards tight, and now the dollar's rising. You have what I call the trifecta of tightening going on. Now, what are you doing if you're in one of those positions? Well, You now got to sell stocks. Whoops, you're short volatility too. Sorry, my friend. So now you've got an even bigger problem. As you sell stocks to cover your bond shorts, your vol shorts are now kicking you in the face too. So now you got to sell more stocks, and next thing you know, you effectively get an insolvency event where the markets start coming down. You will get bank failures, although what will be different this time is you'll see a lot of small or medium-sized banks fail instead of the large ones. And why is that? Well, since the great financial crisis, the large banks figured out that they didn't want to be the blame the next time around. So what did they do? They cherry-picked the loans, and they kicked all of the stuff they didn't want down to the smaller tier banks. So you will see banks that are holding a lot of, say, automobile loans and things like that that will eventually fail. And housing usually is a delayed reaction in these type of events, but I do believe, and I know we were talking about this before the show. I mean, there's housing bubbles all around the world that, are eventually going to pop. But yeah, my whole view is we're going to see the great financial crisis replay. I call it the GFC 2.0 plus.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
so it'll play out in a similar fashion. And it starts with the bond market saying that, look, this is a big problem.
Yep.
And and we're seeing it now. We're seeing the credit conditions. See, we're seeing things happening now because of the stimulus that we didn't see going into the great financial crisis. And going into the great financial crisis, we saw a deceleration in lending growth that eventually became a contraction. Well, now because of stimulus, we're actually seeing a contraction. So for me, wow, when this thing starts to unwind, it's going to be very interesting.
It's kind of cute how you say the great financial crisis, because we usually say in Australia or in Canada, we usually say the GFC.
Yeah, GFC 2.0 plus. That's what it's going to be.
Great financial crisis. That's so cool. Okay, so we got a Pavel Alexei from Russia, from Siberia, Russia, says, can America possibly enter a zombification economic state like Japan?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, that is what will happen unless there's a change in the monetary system. I mean, if you look at all these central banks, Japan was just leading the path of what we're going to do. Mm-hmm. So we've got low interest rates are low. They're going to go lower, and the federal government's going to view this as an excuse to borrow. And that's actually the dumbest way to view interest rates. When you really understand what's going on, governments should view low interest rates as a reason to run a surplus. Right. They should borrow when rates are high, run surpluses when rates are low. So all they're going to do is make things worse by borrowing more money. They're going to turn to the central bankers at the Fed, who of course will be more than happy to do more quantitative easing. And next thing you know, we're going to look exactly like Japan. I mean, we're following the same path. We're just behind them.
Yeah, I think we're somebody was saying about 7 to 8 years behind Japan, roughly.
Maybe a little. Yeah, it could be maybe a little bit longer.
Okay.
But I think we'll catch up pretty quick.
Yeah, it's kicking the can down the road, and that's one of the most scariest things, especially when the previous administration says we're going to raise the debt level, but we're not raising the debt level.
Well, it's not that we're kicking the can down the road so much. It's that people, they think that monetary policy works, and the central bank, the Fed believes its policies works, and they don't. And the problem is we're just going down the same path expecting a different outcome. And and what are they going to do? Is the Fed going to raise rates? No. I mean, obviously any member of the Fed that comes out and says, you know what, the smart solution is to raise rates, they're gone. Could you imagine if any presidential administration came out and said, I think the problem right now is we have too big of a debt. We're going to we're going to cut government spending. We're going to lay people off. No, that's not. They're all going to lose their jobs. So they have to continue down the path they started because they don't know what else to do.
So, in your opinion, you think gold and silver, maybe some physical gold and silver, is a good way to hedge against this uncertainty that we're headed towards?
I've been very, and this is you're going to get a lot of bad comments about what I'm about to say, my friend.
No.
But my view is that gold or precious metals will pull back, just like we saw in the Great Financial Crisis. Now, why we will see that is because real yields will rise. And now when I say real yields, I mean inflation adjusted yields. So take, say, the 10-year treasury and subtract the year-over-year rate of CPI for those viewers who don't know what we're talking about. So what I expect to happen is, even though interest rates are going to fall, I expect the consumer price index to fall much lower. Now, when that happens and real yields go up, gold and precious metals are inversely correlated. So it should, and doesn't mean it will, but it should bring an adjustment down to gold. And we saw this in 2008, where gold was in the early stages of this massive run higher, and it had a 30% correction.
Yeah.
What it was another buying opportunity for anyone that missed it. But those who were like, gold is impervious to market downturns, well, they were wrong, because real yields was the great equalizer. And I think that's what that piece that you suggested earlier, that 4-minute video, talks about, is a relationship between gold and real yields in the consumer price index.
That was an incredible video. I'm going to put the link back in the live chat. We almost have 300 people watching, and right now,
I'll drink to Mike. Come on, man, we got to have a drink to that.
I got a little bit of vodka in this, okay?
All right, okay.
Cheers.
Cheers, buddy.
All right. Okay, so let's take a look at Q1 2021 predictions. So we're just after the election. It's 2021. I put my hand to God and ask that we don't have another 2020 year like we did with this whole crap, and I hope 2021 we're in the clear. I really hope so. Not only financially, with everything. I'm just tired of this whole lockdown crap and what's happening in Australia. And a lot of people now are tuned in from Australia, know what I'm talking about. Okay, 2021 predictions. Gold and silver. Where do you see it going?
Well, can we back up and say 2021 is going to be a terrible year? I mean,
tell us.
Well, sure. I mean, well, look, the COVID case counts around the world are rising. I mean, they're back almost at their peak, but no one's paying attention to it. Mm-hmm. The U.S. and Canada, as we know, are about to hit winter. So not only do we know that winter months are worse for COVID, we also now have the variable of the flu season kicking in. So you have a double whammy there. We're probably, unless we get a stimulus bill in the next week, now we're looking at the United States not having a stimulus bill probably till February. For those of you who are wondering why I'm saying that, is it takes about 2 weeks to pass a bill through Congress, even if you got everybody in line. I mean, it's not like everyone gets together and just signs it and it's done. It still takes about 2 weeks, meaning President Trump and Congress have about 1 week before the elections, and if they can't get it done, and I said they probably won't, no one is going to touch this thing with a 10-foot pole going into the election or immediately after, because it's very likely that we may not actually know who's president. Even if we think we know, there's going to be probably lawsuits filed and all that. And what a lot of people don't understand about Congress is they care about being reelected a lot. Right. And you don't want to be supporting something or a potential presidential nominee who turns out not to actually be the president. So you don't want to stake your claim on the wrong side because you don't want to look like a fool. Mm-hmm. So the reality is we probably won't see another stimulus bill till February. The U.S. economy is stalling out, and we're seeing, and I don't know what's going on. I'm not familiar with Canada as much, but here we're seeing it stall out, and the economic data is going to start to roll over. And yeah, I don't see things getting really better until potentially mid-2021. My base case for an economic turnaround is 2022.
So are you projecting another year of hell?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But it really makes sense. I mean, if you look at what's got to happen, we've really got the pandemic has to go away. I mean, and how much longer can government? I mean, the problem we have is governments are really trying to support businesses and all that, but it's inevitable that you look at the restaurant industry here. I don't know what it's like in Canada, but in the United States, a lot of restaurants are going to have to seat outdoors in the winter. Well, that means more and more restaurants are going to fail, more small businesses are going to fail, and there's just nothing that's going to keep this thing together. I mean, you look at the corporate space. You've got businesses that have got people working from home. Well, what does that mean if you own a bunch of corporate real estate that you're renting out, and all of a sudden people don't want to renew their leases? I mean, you've got landlords in the regular rental market, in the residential market, where people aren't even paying. I mean, you've got so many structural issues that everybody's just kind of, like you said, I'm just ready for it to be over. The problem is, it's not ready to be over yet.
Because I've been discussing on trends in the housing market now. We're on almost episode 250, and I've been discussing a lot about affordability issues that we have in the Commonwealth. You guys are so lucky in the United States, and I bring it up so many times that you could go pretty much anywhere and get a decent average paying job and still do well. Where as opposed to us, we're in a situation where we don't have many cities to go to. You guys have more cities in the state of Texas than we have in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and those countries together. And it's been really tough for us to, a lot of people are mass exodusing. I noticed a mass exodus in California. People are headed eastbound, and it is affecting the markets there. Housing markets are becoming out of reach for the locals there. Do you see anything happening in 2021, or is it just going to get worse? Do you see more people leaving California?
I'd like to leave California, but I'm not going to be able to get out of here that quick. California is one of those states that people want to be in and that people want to leave. And who do you see leaving? The people that accumulate wealth, people that are closer to retirement and they're escaping the taxes and all that. But as far as the climate and job opportunities, well, California, despite all its flaws, seems to somehow create opportunity for people. So there's still an attraction to be here. But long term, for me and my wife, we're definitely, hopefully in a few years, headed out of the state.
Is California, Oregon, and the state of Washington State there? They've been having major affordability issues in the last 3 years, especially with housing. Do you see any correction with that? Major affordability issues.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely expect there to be a housing collapse. I mean, yeah, we're not. I mean, I don't know. I haven't followed the housing market as close as I did going into the GFC, only because I was dabbling in real estate at the time and I was far more interested. The issue I have now is at some point you run out of people that can buy, and it's like anything. When the buyers are exhausted, prices have to fall. It doesn't have to be houses; it could be stocks, could be anything. The reality is there is a point where housing prices are too high and no one can afford it.
You know what, Stephen, you brought up something actually really interesting. A few weeks ago on the show, we talked about how the province I'm in, they're having really tough time finding first-time home buyers now because no one doesn't have $2 million to buy a teardown.
Yeah. Well, and those are factors as well. I mean, there's 26.5 million, somewhere there between a million Americans that are on some sort of unemployment benefit. Mm-hmm. Well, gee, you can't get a home loan in that. And the same problems are are happening in Canada and all around the world. And you've got these massive property values. And we could just stop and say, well, what if it takes a 2-income family, or maybe in Canada, a 2 million 4-income family to buy a home, right? I mean, what happens if one person loses their job or has a decrease in income? How long can they hold on to that payment? Okay, so we're in deferment. All right, no problem. We bought 6 months. Well, what happens when the 6 months is up? Can I pay that lump sum loan, or even can I resume just the payments if the deferment gets moved to the end? And there's a lot of things that we're going to find out here in the United States in the next couple months, because I look back at when did we really start to go in deferment? In May. Mm-hmm. So May, June, and July. So where are we at? We're in October, the very first month now that we're going to see loans come out of deferment. And some of my followers have said, wait till December because student loan payments come out of deferment in December. Now, I don't have student loan payments, so I don't really know if there's something if there was a reason why December was the month, or I don't know. But everyone that's got them is saying December is the month. And there's going to be a problem when all these loans start coming back out of deferment, because I don't think people can actually make the payments on all. Yeah. And when that happens, price is going to come down.
And over leveraged, we were discussing. I had someone else on the show a few weeks back, Martin North from Digital Analytics. The average.
Oh, my friend Martin.
Yep. He basically, we were going over a few articles in Australia, and the average Australian is like Australian income, housing income, income to debt ratio is about 200 over 200%.
Oh yeah, people are massively over leveraged all across the planet. But that's the gimmick of a debt-based monetary system: is you leverage, 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 and until the music stops and you find out that there's no chairs for anyone to sit in.
Yeah, take a sip of your beer, man.
Oh no, dude, I got some. What do I have here?
Cognac?
Whiskey.
Oh,
Whiskey.
yeah, whiskey. Yeah, I like whiskey cola. Like good top shelf whiskey with cola. People say I ruin it. I should have it with ice, but
why do you mix top shelf whiskey with cola? Isn't that? I mean, if you're mixing with cola, you could mix with anything.
No, it's because it tastes like rubbing alcohol, like some of the lower end whiskey. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one day we'll have to have a Mike in the Night party. We'll all get together and drink whiskey colas.
When this whole thing opens up and you want to take a drive up to Canada, you're more than welcome to come. I'm probably like 15 hours drive from you, and
right on.
Yeah, we could have because I have a store downtown here in my town, and everyone could meet there from YouTube. It'd be like a big party, like a big gathering, you know.
Oh, dude, it would be awesome.
All right, I got one. Are you ready for this? This is a question that I had for someone else on the show, but they couldn't give me they couldn't really answer this, so I'm going to give it to you, all right?
Okay.
The Fed owns a total of 23,940 different securities. It is now the world's biggest investor. What does this mean for the small guy? What does this mean for the average Joe Donuts?
I mean, I don't know that it really means a whole lot. It just means the Fed's trying to use monetary policy to stabilize the financial system. The fact that they own that many of them tells you that what they're doing doesn't work, and they have no clue what they're doing, because if they knew what they're doing, you wouldn't have to buy that many things. I mean, it's like, look, if we looked at your store, if you are a good businessman, right? You know what your customers want. You stock your store with the things you know that's going to sell, and then you stock it with some things that you think those customers might be interested in, but they didn't know about.
Right.
But the fact that if I went to your store and you're like, man, Steve, I've got 23,000 different things, I'm like, well, either you really have a very diverse customer base or you're a complete idiot. Yeah. There's one of the two things that I have to determine. And that's what we should understand about the Federal Reserve is they have absolutely no clue what they're doing. They're taking the shotgun approach, and they're hoping that somehow all of this magically solves the problem, even though it's not going to.
We got Dave in Sydney, Australia, asking, I've been purchasing U.S. dollars here in Australia. How much do you think is a good amount to have on hand?
I assume he's referring to physical currency?
Yes.
Since I live in a dollar-denominated world, I have no clue.
Okay.
I mean, if I looked around my house, I have to ask my wife, because I literally have $0 in my wallet. So if we scrap together, if she said we had $100 in our house, I'd be impressed.
Because why he's saying that, because if you're living in Australia or in Canada, we, like in these countries, even Argentina, we actually buy American currency and hold it. Right.
So that's pretty cool. I see. Obviously, in a dollar-denominated world, I wouldn't be holding euros or anything else. So I don't know what that's like.
Right. So for the answer to him, I would say enough to get you out of the country and enough to get you somewhere. Like if something goes really bad in Australia, just enough to get you out of the country and maybe 2 months to live.
Well, and possibly the question is he's used it as a hedge against the Australian dollar.
Oh, the Australian dollar is going to tank coming when the markets, the ASX and the All Ords. I'm going to keep an eye on them next week because I have a feeling we're going to start to see some unusual patterns before this election.
Well, yeah, and I'm very dollar bullish, so I could see it as I mean, if I lived in a different country, then would I want to hold dollars? Yes. Now, obviously, how much I couldn't make that determination for him, but I could see what he's doing is he's hedging against the Australian dollar, and it makes a lot of sense to do that.
I do that with the Canadian dollar too. I buy a lot of American and hold, right? And
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I just want to kind of touch on something, Steve. You probably won't believe this, but did you know in Argentina, they've made it illegal a few months back to buy to spend more than $200 of your pay to buy more than 200 American dollars?
Huh.
Yeah. In Argentina, they've put so many rules in, and they've limited the amount of currency that American currency that the banks could hold, because everyone's converting their Argentinian peso into American dollars.
So what you're saying is I should get a suitcase full of $100 bills and go to Argentina and I could sell them for a profit?
You probably could. Yes, you probably could. You could
But
sell it
the
over spot.
Problem is, and then I have their currency and I wouldn't want that.
Yeah, Argentinian peso. You could probably take it to Brazil and have a party with it or something, and that's about it.
Yeah, or maybe I could have a fire or something.
Yeah, wallpaper. All right, people, we got 323 people watching live. We have beat CNN. CNN's live right now. They got 73 people watching, and we got 324 people watching on Mike of the Night, and on our other platform streams across, I don't even know, I can't even see. I have all these chat rooms open from different streaming platforms. And so before we ask you some major, let's get a little personal with Steve now.
Wait. We need a woo for all those viewers, man.
You woo.
Woo!
And
there we go.
All right, let's get a little personal. This stuff normally you wouldn't be talking on your channel. Before we get into the open up questions in the live stream, guys. So, guys, hold your questions for the live stream. Thank you, Steven Sewell, for sending me $10 in super chat. That should be enough money to get me to Seattle. Thank you very much. Because I'm only 4 hours away drive from Seattle, right? So
there you go.
Okay,
that's very kind.
Okay. Any big plans for your channel? What do you got going down? Any projects?
No, my channel is literally impromptu every day. I mean, I think like right now I have an idea what I'm going to do on Monday. If you said, what are you going to do on Wednesday? I have no idea. Okay. I don't edit. I don't plan. Sometimes that morning I make some notes and whatever happens.
Okay. What's your favorite sport?
Favorite sport? Well, I think I should maybe have a drink to that.
Okay, hockey. Me too. I'm a hockey guy. I grew up watching the Toronto Maple Leafs.
But here's the thing: I don't watch a lot of sports anymore, and in fact, we don't even have cable TV, so I can't even watch hockey. I don't even know if they're playing hockey right now. I don't follow it that closely.
Whoa, you don't have cable? How do you watch CNN?
I don't watch CNN.
I'm just kidding. I
don't watch any cable news network. Period. I don't watch it. I'll even add this. Some people are amazed. I don't watch any financial news network.
Really?
I don't like them.
Okay.
I think when people start doing their own research and start thinking for themselves, it really is more impactful than whatever garbage is spewing across these cable news networks.
That's correct. I'm very happy to hear that. I'm very happy that, because a lot of people here are very like-minded when it comes to cable, right? And I cut my cable, I think, like 18 years ago, and I've never looked back. I've always streamed or downloaded stuff.
Good for you.
Yeah, this bud's for you. Okay, if you had a favorite ice cream flavor, are you a chocolate guy, vanilla, banana, cherry? What are you?
Oh, man. When we used to buy ice cream, what did I buy? I like vanilla because you can put things on it, like chocolate sauce and whipped cream. It's versatile.
Okay, that's a good one.
You
can put that in root beer.
I like options. I'm an options guy. I like choice.
You could do a root beer float with that.
That's right.
Travel destination.
Right now, nowhere.
No, I mean, if someone gave you a golden ticket to go away, where would you go?
I would go to Orlando, Florida.
Nice. Okay.
Because I want to move there, so I need to take my wife who's never been there, so we can go check it out.
I've always taken you for a Florida guy. I'm not joking. I lived in Florida for 5 years. I don't know. I just always figured, I met a lot of people when I obviously lived there for 5 years. And you seem more of like a Florida guy to me.
Yeah, well, California and Florida not tremendously different weather-wise in some cases, but for me, I want to be in a place where there's no state income tax, and
Yeah.
if I can live next to Walt Disney World, well, I've got entertainment 24 hour, well, not 24 hours a day, but I've got it in my backyard, and I think that'd be pretty cool.
So then when I fly down with the kids, I can meet with you and then go to go in and go on some rides at the same time.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
Woo!
absolutely, woohoo! That'd be fun.
Okay. What's your favorite car?
Favorite car I've owned or favorite car in general?
Both.
Favorite car I've owned would be I owned a 2012 BMW M3 convertible.
Nice.
Um, it, I don't know if it was my absolute favorite. It was the coolest car I've ever owned.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think. My favorite car was was it a 2008 BMW 335i, the twin turbo one.
Nice.
Other than the automatic transmission that was in it, I thought that car was a lot of fun. But lately, I've been driving EVs, and I love EVs because
What's EV?
I don't really think about them. They don't have to do anything. I just get in push a button, turns on, drive to work. Don't think about it.
Like EV means electric vehicle. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I got to get up with the acronyms here.
Yeah, well, in California, they give you a lot of money to buy these things, so I figured, well, why not?
Okay. Yeah, I think that's about it. I just wanted to ask you a few questions. What was your favorite beer? Molson X?
I haven't drank a lot of beer since the shutdown, man. I just like regular beers, bloggers. I'm not into all the fancy stuff. I'm just a regular guy.
So you like in Canada we drink a lot of not Budweiser. So we drink Labatt Blue, Molson Canadian.
Dude, you're gonna get shot for saying you drink Budweiser in Canada.
No, we don't. No, I'm just saying. It's Labatt Blue, and it's about Labatt Blue is a big one. Molson Canadian's another one.
Yeah, Canada's got fantastic beers.
Oh yeah, the down south from us, it's pretty. I think that's where they put the line, the border, and that's where they divided the beer into stronger and water.
I mean, isn't that what hockey is all about? Fighting and drinking beer? I mean, that's pretty much it, isn't it?
Yep, that's what it's all about, fighting and drinking beer. All right, let's open the floor to questions here, guys. So it's going to take a few seconds because the stream has a...
Yeah, let's get some fan questions here.
We got a 15 or 20 second delay in the stream. And guys, please, we got Vlad here. We got... Standing Mannequin in the house, Metal Gear Mark III, Layla. In the comments, Layla is one of our correspondents in Syria. Nice.
Yeah, she wants in on the deal here.
Nice.
A lot of people don't know I have a pink rabbit. I have many rabbits of many colors.
Like, did you have them as a child? Like real rat? Like, did you raise them and eat them?
No. What happened? The story of the rabbit's kind of cool. If you want, I'll tell it to you.
Please.
So we were at the Mall of America one day. I was there for a business trip, and my wife bought some packets of little mini Peeps for her kids, and she bought one for us. And then one day we got a yellow one, and then the pink one came home. And for whatever reason, they started getting names and personalities. And then next thing you know, when you have 1, 2 rabbits, you get 3, 4, 5. And my wife ended up having some pretty major surgeries. 18 months, about 2 years ago.
Okay.
And to help her get through it, I actually created a whole world out of the rabbits. They all had names, they had personalities, they had things they did every day. And I did that to help her get through that mental struggle because they had put her on a lot of opioids to deal with her pain issues. And so not only was she rehabbing from these massive, I mean, she had an 8.5 hour back surgery where they literally cut her open top to bottom.
Wow.
And operated on her and put, metal rods in her back. And she also withdrew from opioids at the same time. So she was going through this hellacious situation. And so mentally for her, and then for me, I just created this whole world because rabbits are innocent. Rabbits don't hurt you. I mean, rabbits not gonna, And so, oddly enough, we actually now have a pet rabbit because of it. But even today, the rabbits still have things they do, and we still talk about like them, and they're part of our life because they were with her through that traumatic time.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that. That's really, really, that's really touching. That's really nice that, and you're there,
Thanks.
you're strong, you got a strong will. Very, that's good. We're very like-minded. We're very family-oriented. I'm like you, very family, always looking after the my wife and stuff, and then like, always making sure that things are kosher, everybody's happy, and that's good. That's really good. Creating that effect the ambient effect is really good. So first question we got here.
That. Yeah, questions. Let's do it.
Okay. My 2 cents is regarding crypto coins. What do you think about crypto coins in blockchain that are 100% backed by gold and silver? There are few companies starting this.
2 years ago, I said somebody would make a lot of money if they did a cryptocurrency backed by gold. And then I never actually, and I think I looked it up and I saw someone was doing it. I'm like, well, good for them. And that was as far as it went. I do think there's anything gold backed, I think has some value to it. Now, what will happen in the future with I couldn't tell you, but I think it's a brilliant idea.
Okay, Jim Dweck says the U.S. dollar DXY question. Steven said last week that the U.S. dollar DXY should fall to support the level around 93. Do you think that the DXY will approach March's high of 103?
When the dollar breaks out, I think it's not only going to approach 103, I think it goes through 103.
What?
Well, okay. So let's talk about this, because a lot of people just don't understand where I get this view from, because they think, oh, the dollar's going to go to zero or whatever it's going to do. And I encourage all of your viewers who have their charting software or bring the charting software up, look at bond prices, not yields, bond prices and the dollar, put them on the same chart.
Okay.
Because what are they telling you? So when bond prices rise or interest rates fall, same difference, it tells you that financial conditions are tightening. So what does a weak dollar tell you? It tells you financial conditions are loosening. So how is it possible I can have bond prices that are near their all-time high and a dollar at its lower end of its 5-year range, and it makes sense? It can't, because one's telling me conditions are tight, one's telling me conditions are loose. So if you chart them, you'll notice that they kind of have like what I call a relationship. They're a dating couple. Sometimes they like each other and they're together. They'll see them moving together. Other times you see them apart, where maybe he's mad at her or she's mad at him, but eventually they always come back together, because if financial conditions are tight, then the dollar will rally to confirm that. If financial conditions are indeed loose, then interest rates will rise and bond prices will fall. So the question becomes what is the high probability outcome? And the high probability outcome is that interest rates go down to near zero or zero, bond prices rise, and that means not only does the dollar have to go up to 103, it actually would go through 103 to catch up to bond prices.
Holy crap. So for people living in Canada, that's going to mean we're going to have $1.47 in Canada. In Australia, that means you're going to have $1.60 in Australia. And New Zealand, I'm sorry for people living in Kiwi land. I'm really sorry down there. You're looking at $1.85, maybe $1.90 Kiwi dollar to the American. So if Stephen is correct, which he usually is, that's kind of scary for us living in Canada and in Australia and Canada and the Commonwealth.
Well, I won't know if I'm usually are, but I'm pretty sure I'll be right about this. Now, but that comes back to the question earlier of, right, how many dollars should I hold? Well, the answer is how many dollars do you need to hedge your position of your local currency?
Yeah.
And I can't answer that question, but if I was in another country, would I want to hold dollars? Probably would.
Yeah.
Would I want to get them when they were relatively inexpensive? I probably would. Yeah. And the other factor that people are missing here is why did the dollar actually weaken? Now, the answer is, oh, it was quantitative easing, blah blah blah, the Fed. Okay, let me frame it in a whole different perspective. supply and demand, right?
Right.
I mean, in the end of the day, supply and demand factors. So why was there this lack of demand for dollars all of a sudden, I don't know, after March? Gee, maybe we had people in America lost their jobs, right? Or were furloughed or sent home. The government gave them more money and said, you can't spend it because all the stores were closed. And by the way, when we're done with that, we'll put all your loans in deferment. Well, what does that mean? People don't need dollars, right?
Hmm.
So what's going to happen to dollar demand as these loans come out of deferment? And we're already starting to see it. When did the dollar start to firm up? And this is the question a lot of people missed. It started to firm up right as all these extra stimulus stuff started to fade away. It was almost, the timing was perfect.
Hmm.
And the other factor that people miss is the quantitative easing actually causes the dollar to rise. Well, if you look at the monetary base, which is a good, it's not the Fed's, specifically the Fed's balance sheet, but they do have control over it. Or you can look at the Fed's balance sheet. Look at where the Fed's balance sheet and the monetary base bottomed and started going up right as the dollar was bottoming. So we know, even if we don't know, we still know that the dollar is more likely to go up because as all these loans come out of deferment, dollar demand is going to go up and people have less money.
Hmm.
Makes perfect sense to me.
Can you ask? Ooh, where did that go? Man, I'm just moving too fast here. Oh wow, that's way up there. Yeah, someone says that Steve has some of the best analogies. Of course, I love your analogies on some things. They're so cool. Oh man,
Thank you.
I don't. Please, guys, forgive me. I lost the. I'm just trying to find. There was a couple of questions here, and then everything moved so fast. Okay, nope, that's not for you. That's somebody arguing in the comment section with somebody else. Let me see here. Oh man, I had a pile of questions lined up here. Guys, keep asking your questions. Can we get Steven's take on clean energy and solar? What's up with the mania in these stocks?
I have no idea. But I can tell you, as someone who has a mountain of solar panels, well, that's a terrible analogy. I have a lot of solar panels on my house. I have on my second electric vehicle, soon to be third. I even converted, much to my wife's displeasure, our gas heating. I didn't convert it. I just bought electric heaters. Look, I think it's fantastic. It saved me a ton of money, but the infatuation with these stocks makes no sense to me at all.
Okay. Okay. My 2 cents is asking is UUP and TLT good to have for rising dollar? Appreciate any other investment strategy for rising dollar.
Unfortunately, I can't give investment advice due to my license, which would be answering that question. What I can encourage, you said his name was 2 cents?
Yes. My
So
two
two
cents.
cents.
My
Oh,
two
my
cents.
2 cents. So here's what I encourage you to do, my friend, is look at what is available. So you're looking at ETFs. Those may be the ones you're looking for. What I would do is go to ETF database, etfdb.com. I would go look for bonds, currencies, and find the ETFs that match what your investment thesis is. So if you're looking at my thesis, that is a rising dollar and rising treasury bonds, then you would want to find an ETF that was obviously dollar bullish, and you would want to find an ETF that invested, or several that invested in treasury securities. And I think you'll have no problem finding the ones you're looking for.
Okay. Papa Pissed is saying, Steven, what is the tax rate in California?
Ridiculously high. I think the top marginal bracket here is around 12.3%.
Oh, wow. That's actually a blessing. In Canada, it's actually crazier. It's crazy. It's almost like, yeah, we'll get into Canada another time, but yeah, it's
Well,
pretty.
yeah, but you get that wonderful free healthcare that we talked about earlier.
Oh no, I know, but it's got its moments, right?
Yeah.
Ba, 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 ba. I'm just going through the comments here real quick, guys. Keep putting in your thing. I'm gonna get to them here. Just keep putting in.
But while you're looking, I'll go back to these solar or green energy stocks, I think they'll have a reality check, big time.
Okay.
I think people are highly infatuated with them, and infatuation usually is not a good thing. These companies still need to make a profit, and you look at a lot of electric vehicles, and I, as an EV owner, obviously have a very strong opinion about them. And there's two types of EV owners. There's the rich who buy them because it's a status symbol, and then there's people like me who are cheap and have a short commute and realize that, hey, I can actually save a lot of money as long as I don't care which kind of car I drive, because I can go around and shop for the best deal and then get all of these state and county tax credits and federal tax credits for it. The problem is your average person, that doesn't work. I have probably close to 30 solar panels. I have a level 2 charger in my garage. I have a 7-mile commute. For me, it works out. I don't ever go anywhere. I mean, my wife and I, our world is maybe a 15-mile. Well, she actually goes farther than I do, but our radius of how far we go isn't that much. So for us, it works out really well. But I don't think for the average person that all this stuff is going to work out that well for them. And I don't think the infrastructure is there for it yet. But again, there's a big infatuation of I got to get in early. But I think people don't realize that, to buy all these, to manufacture a battery, you've got to go out and get the raw materials. I mean, there's just not an unlimited supply of this stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. But it is pretty Wild West out there.
We got Cesar Blandino is asking, what do pensions do when the 40-year bond rally ends? Aren't they mandated to hold safe government debt? Where do they go?
Pension funds are actually short the bond market right now. So short pension funds have been selling volatility to actually make, and they've been shorting the bond market to make a return. So it's going to be interesting because I think the pension funds are going to get slaughtered when bond prices rally. Where they're going to go after that, they don't have to just hold treasuries. They can hold corporates, and usually you see pension funds are typically 60% equity, 40% bond. What's going to happen after this? That's a good question. I mean, are they going to need a federal bailout? And it wouldn't surprise me if a lot of pension funds are, demanding a bailout. The question is, when the federal government says we'll give it to you, it's going to sound really good at first, and then when they find out that they're a dumping ground for U.S. Treasuries that are yielding, say, zero, and the solution for that is, hey, cut your member benefits down, people are going to realize that was a bad idea.
Austerity measures.
Yes, austerity measures. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's been happening across France and other countries where they've already. Europe is about, I think, a couple of years ahead of the U.S., and they've been cutting back austerity on pensions for, I think, the last 10 years now. And that's why they have the Gilets jaunes in France, and you got this uprising all over, uprisings. And then COVID hit, and then everything quieted down, and COVID came back. And then, again, for its second wave, I don't know what's happening in Europe right now. I got to get someone on the show from Europe to give us an update on what's happening on the ground there when it comes to that. But they are ahead of us, Steve, when it comes to austerity measures. You hear it all the time in the news.
Deflationary, by the way. To give people less income, that is deflationary.
Yeah. We got Super Dry Beef has a question, and I was going to ask you this too. Later on, I was going to ask you before you got off the show, but I'm going to ask now. It's from Super Dry Beef. He asks, can you ask Steve if he could look into the Bank of Canada data for a macro episode just for fun?
I know nothing about the foreign central bank data, so no, I would do a disservice to that. Okay. I would encourage you, Mike, if you could find someone who knows a lot about it. I know virtually nothing. I know enough to know that they have different rules, but for me to dig into the data to find all this stuff, I would probably botch it so bad that I would encourage you to bring an expert on. I would want to see that too.
Yeah, because especially, I'll probably get, I'll find someone who could do that. I was going to ask you the same thing, but that's okay. I don't want you,
It's a common question I get, and the answer is my expertise is more in terms of what the Fed does, because obviously this is where I live, and I would understand that someone in Canada who's looking at my research and says, hey, I want to know what goes on here. Well, I just don't know. I'm not the guy that knows the answer, but I understand why they would want to know. And if I was them, I would want to know too.
Okay, we got one here. I don't think anyone actually. Steve, some from Heart Sweets asking Steve, what is adrenochrome?
I have no idea.
Okay. Someone else asking Steve, how many legs does a praying mantis have?
I don't know, 4? And where's my wife? She knows stuff like this.
Okay.
I don't know. That's a good question. How many do they? 6? I'm not sure.
John Henry is asking, what is Steven's thesis?
Oh, my thesis is we're going to see a replay of the Great Financial Crisis, only worse. GFC 2.0 plus. And it should play out very similar, maybe even identically to how it did. It'll just only be far, far, far worse.
So what do you have a bunker?
Nope. I mean, look, recessions are an opportunity. And people don't look at them that way because, if you've got a lot of debt and you don't have any cash, you don't have any opportunities. I knew this was going to happen years and years ago. I knew we would have another recession. So if you look at where my thesis comes from, it's like, all right, so we're going to have another recession. Well, that's obvious. That is inevitable. It's going to happen. So then the next question is, all right, well, what is the reaction going to be? Well, everybody seems to think quantitative easing does something and doesn't do, so the Fed's going to do a whole lot of that. Well, we know for a fact that it causes interest rates to go down. But we also know that people think quantitative easing is inflationary. Well, look at the market positioning. Everyone's betting on higher rates. Great, they're betting against the Fed. Good luck with that. So the Fed's going to cause the largest short squeeze in history against the bond market, cause financial conditions to go ultra tight, cause bond prices to shoot straight up,
right, and
cause risk assets to crash. Look, it's just an opportunity. I mean, that's the way I looked at it. It's like, how do I grow my wealth, grow the wealth of my clients money I manage, and this is a high probability repeat of what we saw.
Right.
And that's one of my whole thesis. Now, even on my show, we dig into the minutia too much of it, but it's just a repeat of it. And so how do I position myself to maximize my gain, my client's gain, and do it with the least amount of risk? That's all it is.
That's a good.
Now the next recession, I got no idea what we're going to do. But I know exactly what we're going to do this time.
Get a bunker?
No. No, and because look, I'm not bearish on the fact that the world's going to end. I mean, good things do come out of recessions. I mean, the world didn't end in 2008, and I paid off all my debt. I saved up a lot of money, and I positioned myself to capitalize on it. And so I built this whole thesis around it. It's how I manage my clients' money with it. And I think it's a pretty cool idea, and I think it has a high probability of playing out exactly as I think it does.
Okay.
And the data so far is very, very consistent with that.
Yeah, well, you're very right. You're very consistently right. I went over a lot of your older videos, and I kind of I do that a lot when I'm looking at other channels. I go to older videos and kind of backtrack what they said was, and you've been pretty much 10 out of 10 in most of your stuff. And
No, I was wrong 4 years ago. So I've been wrong 1 out of 3 years, maybe 1.5 out of 3 years.
Okay, I didn't catch that one, so
I mean, because there are people that know that have said that Steve's an idiot, and I get that all the time. But when it comes to the world of macro investing, most macro money managers have at best a 50% hit rate. At best, It's actually less than 50%. I'm sitting at somewhere 65 to 75%, so 70% hit rate. That's actually unusually high. In fact, that means you're in the best of the best. So, there's a lot of detractors because they look at YouTube shows and they think that, hey, I got to find someone who's always right. Look, no one is ever going to be always right. And I'm openly admit I was wrong. And what did being wrong do? It caused me to do more research, more data, and become better. And it turned out the last 3 years I've rocked it. And I know that my end game on the first phase of my thesis, I'm going to be in the top echelon of macro managers. I know how it plays out. And then from there, I think it gets a little easier because I've been working on, my phase 2 of my thesis. I know what I'm going to do there. Phase 3 is muddy water, but I built some tools to help me, and work through that. And so if I'm completely blind at that time, and I think a lot of money managers will be, I've got what I call my secret weapon to help me navigate that. So yeah, I've been wrong, but every macro manager is going to be wrong. I just haven't been wrong as people think I've been wrong.
I'm just going to give a round of applause for that. Soundboard, round of applause.
Thank you. And I'm not afraid to admit that I am. A lot of people think, oh, he's afraid to do that. Nah, it's not true at all. But I do appreciate you saying I'm a 10 out of 10. But reality, I'm more like a 7 out of 10. But that's pretty darn good.
Yep. We got Anna Key from Australia asking, Mike, ask Steve who audits the Fed. In Australia, they have the Royal Commission that audits the Reserve Bank of Australia. So who do they have that audits the Federal Reserve?
I actually don't know exactly who does. I do know the Fed does get audited, although there is a large group of people that say that audit is not to the level that it should be, but the Fed does get audited. I just don't know. I care so little about who audits them, I don't know who it is.
Okay. Arthur is asking, Mike Martins, please ask him if interest rates will stay low for 3 years.
Yes, because interest rates go down. So this is a great thing for people to do is pull up, go to the St. Louis Fed database, the FRED database, and just pull up a chart of 10-year treasuries. If you don't know how to do that, go to your favorite search and type in FRED 10-year treasury yield. And you're not asking FRED. The search engine will know you're looking for the St. Louis Fed database. Pull it up, and what you'll see is these gray recession bars. Then you'll see interest rates bottom year or two after. Why is that? It takes that long for consumers' balance sheets to repair enough where they can go out and borrow money again.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely think interest rates are going to stay down. And even if not, do I expect that central bankers will continue to do high levels of quantitative easing to keep them low when they figure out they can't create inflation? Sure, absolutely. So yeah, I do think rates will stay low.
Okay.
Now, does that mean there won't be pockets of where rates rise? No, it just means that I do believe they will be low relatively historically.
Okay, that's a good one. That was a really good answer, actually. The Fed, I haven't been on that. I haven't checked that in a good while. That just brings me back to like 10 years ago.
Great. It's a great place to find data.
Someone's asking. I'm just going to see. There's some conversations in the chat at the same time.
Sure.
Mike Martins. Steve is a smart guy. Currently spoofing bond futures to go long at a lower price.
Say that again.
It says Mike Martin. Steve is a smart money currently spoofing bond futures to go long at a lower price.
Oh, is a smart money long Treasury futures? Absolutely, they are. They've been long Treasury futures. That's the thing that I don't think people understand is who is a smart money in the bond market? It's the commercial banks. And why would they want more bonds? Do we know for a fact that the Fed's going to do more QE? Oh yeah, they're going to. I mean, it's not an if, it's a when event. The economy is going to roll over. They're going to do more. Because why are they going to do more? Because in March, as far as everyone's concerned, that $1 trillion QE bomb worked. I mean, the Fed's eyes, it worked. So hey, if $1 trillion worked, well, let's do 2 or 3. Well, guess what? The commercial banks, they're going to need a massive amount of Treasury securities just to supply the Fed. And where are they going to get it from? They're getting it out of the futures market. And all these people that are massively short the futures market and think the interest rates are going up, man, they're going to get slaughtered. They're playing. It's like going to Vegas and legitimately think you're going to beat the house. Yeah, sure. You can. Mike, you and I could go down to the blackjack table and we could have a hell of a night, right? We could win. But the longer we sit at that table, over the days and weeks and months that follow, the statistical odds are we're going to lose.
Right.
And everybody's betting against the house. And who is the house? Commercial banks and the Fed. Good luck.
Yeah.
I'm not going to bet against that.
Nope. Not me. Okay, Mitchell is asking, Steve, has the damage been done already to the economy where A crash is imminent in Q2 of 2020. Output decreased by 37.1%, and hours worked decreased by 42.9%.
Did he really mean Q2?
Q2 2020.
Well, that's already behind us.
So I'll read it again. Steve, has the damage been done already to the economy where the crash is imminent? In Q2 of 2020,
in Q2.
output decreased.
Oh, yeah, okay. I'm sorry. Okay, I now understand. Yeah, no. The damage is we're not going to recover. Yeah, the damage has been done. There's no question. I mean, the economy literally just got ran over by a car. I mean, it was walking
Mack
across
truck.
the street. Yeah, I mean, it just got like bam. I mean, it got smashed, and we came over. We stimulated it. We pumped it full of steroids and patched it up and stood it up, and it started to hobble off the road. It ain't getting very far. I mean, there's just way too much damage. I mean, it'd be one thing if even if the COVID thing didn't even, it was, let's just magically say wave a wand, and it was gone. The economy is still severely damaged. The fact that it's not even going away means more businesses are going to fail, more jobs are not coming back. I mean, you've got all this massive government borrowing. And one of my favorite charts, and those who are fans of the show that are watching will know this, is I look at the labor force participation rate against the total U.S. government debt, which I invert the government debt, and it just tells you the more debt the U.S. government takes on, the fewer jobs we'll have. So not only are we losing jobs due to the pandemic, we're going to have permanent job losses due to this massive government borrowing. Yeah, no, I think you could say that Q2 was the earthquake. The aftershock's going to be way, way worse.
Man, that was a really good.
Sense.
That was
right. I mean, if you really think about it, I mean, I know everyone's super optimistic about it, but if you really just stop and take a look at it, there's 25 to 26.5 million Americans out of work. Even if we just isolated the world down to the United States, because it's the only thing I'm really overly familiar with. Even though I know we've got viewers from all over the Commonwealth, I mean the expectation was all these people are going to be back at work by now, and they're not. I mean, I said if we lose the summer travel season, which we did, it would set up for a really bad winter. And now the winter's going to be bad because, of course, COVID's not going away. People aren't going to be. We're going to be told not to travel, not to do stuff anyways. But there's a lot of businesses that make a huge amount of money, relatively speaking, in the summer months to get through the bad months. And I imagine in Canada, this is probably even more relevant because of the winter up there is so much worse than the United States, that there are businesses that literally probably make a lot of their money in a small period of time to get through the rough patch.
Yeah. Where I'm here is it's kind of mild, the winters. We have maybe 3 months of decent cold weather, and then March is spring, and we have really beautiful weather going March forward, right? So I'm very lucky being on the West Coast. If I was out in Ontario and you got the Great Lakes, woo, we got minus 40 centigrade. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but we got that going into March and April. So you got some pretty bad, out east is a lot worse, especially Chicago and all those places where it's very windy and
yeah.
Okay, we got Low Roller Scratcher is asking, Mike Martins, ask your guest, did you see the one YouTube trending today on YouTube as Californians are leaving for good? Apparently it's a big video.
Did I see that? No, but as a Californian, I know that to be true.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean that people aren't coming here too. I mean, again, people still are coming to the state, but if you look at who's leaving, and again, it's tended to be people who have jobs that they can transition to another state, or they're retirees. A lot of retirees are leaving the state, and I don't blame them. If I'm on a fixed income, I could immediately move anywhere else and probably cut my expenses, not just in terms of state income tax, but just broadly save 10%.
That's a lot.
So, yeah. So, I mean, it makes sense to consider moving.
Mm-hmm. And mathematically, it makes a lot of sense. Mitch Madden's asking, ask Stephen if massive QE and real negative interest rates are good for gold.
Yes. Well, let me think about that. QE will cause the dollar to go up. So what will happen is we'll have a lot of QE, and that will be bad for gold. And then as once they get done doing that massive, like we saw in March, this massive QE bomb, then they'll step back because the Fed's always afraid, which is pretty dumb, that okay, well, $1 trillion of QE didn't work. Well, maybe if we do like 5 trillion, and so they're always like, okay, well, we'll step back. It's that step back phase. See, this is where I get really bullish on gold, is because you'll have this massive dollar spike, and then the Fed's going to, they're going to drop this huge QE bomb, however big it's going to be, and then they're going to step back, and then the natural thing that will happen is the dollar will ease, and there's you get your bullish view for the precious metals. So falling real yields is bullish for metals, but it's going to come after a spike. Whoever asked the question, tell them to go look at a chart of real yields back in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember who the name of the question came from.
Okay. It came from, hold on, I'm looking for it. I'm scrolling way up here.
That's okay. But, chart gold against real yields. And you can do this on the Fred database. And if you can't find real yields, you can always just take the 10-year, subtract the year over year on the CPI, and then chart it against gold. And you will see exactly that spike in real yields in 2008 that I think repeats. And then you see the declining real yields where you get that massive last like 2 some odd year bull market in gold. I think that's exactly what we're going to see.
My 2 cents has one last question saying, hey, Mike, one last question. Please ask Steve what the indicators to watch to know when the dollar perks and begins to drop. Will hyperinflation follow?
No, hyperinflation will not happen unless we have a change to the monetary system. That is not possible. Hyperinflation is not possible under the current laws governing the Federal Reserve. It is absolutely not possible. So, all this talk about hyperinflation, all that, I really actually don't. I'm not interested in it that much, because it's one of those things where people ask, well, Steve, do you think this could happen? Well, the first thing that happens is we got to change the laws. Mm-hmm. And then the assumption then is, well, won't Congress just to get together and then like in a couple of days? No, they're not going to just. The decision to change the laws governing the Federal Reserve to allow them to print money or to turn their liabilities into legal tender is not an overnight process, because if you hyperinflate the world's reserve currency, you're going to destroy the global monetary system, and things are going to be so bad around the world. It's worse than I can imagine. So the answer is, we're not going to see hyperinflation. Now, if we do see a spike in the dollar and then it comes down, which I believe we will we see inflation? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Will we see higher interest rates? Yes. But still the natural trend is once that pop in interest rates is done, it will head back down, because again, the economy will be too weak. There won't be any lending growth to support those higher yields. So no, hyperinflation not going to happen without some structural change to the system. And if it does, everyone that thinks it's going to happen, wants it to happen, will wish it didn't.
That was a great.
And if they don't, get someone on your show from Argentina and ask them how great hyperinflation is, because it's bad.
Well, Argentina's reset its economy 3 times in the last 10 years.
Yeah, how's that worked out for them?
Not working out.
No.
We got, what was that question? Mitchell says, Steve, what will the Fed do with all the mortgages it's buying up?
What do you mean, nothing? I mean, it's just going to sit on the balance sheet.
Okay.
And I mean, that's all they're doing with them. I mean, the only alternative is for them to do quantitative tightening and return it to the financial system. Mm-hmm. They're not going to do that in the short term. Now, maybe someday, theoretically, if we have high enough inflation, they will. But the reality, all the Fed's going to do with the mortgages is they're going to set them on their balance sheet, and then they're going to reinvest the coupons, which is what they're doing now.
So Dion Williams is saying, again, a great interview with Jeff Snyder on Real Vision. Were you on that?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's Dion Williams here. And what else we got? I got tons.
Yeah, I thought Jeff was great. That was hopefully that interview should go public. I don't know when, but at some point. And I really thought it was great. I enjoyed it, and I know Jeff really answered a lot of questions that I had, and a lot of my viewers had. So I thought it was wonderful.
We got what's someone's asking about Ronin Capital. Not sure what that is.
I don't know anything about that.
Their daughters. No, this. I'm just going into comments here. Shane O'Connell for Dublin has a Skype question saying, "Are the local governments buying back enough debt fast enough?"
Local governments aren't buying debt.
Okay, so he probably maybe asked that wrong.
Yeah.
Or is the Fed maybe buying up back enough debt fast enough?
Oh, is the Fed buying enough debt fast enough?
I think that's what he meant, because he says,
yeah. Is the Fed doing enough QE? No, they're not. They will do more, and it won't make a difference, but they will do more.
Wow. Okay, that's for Shane O'Connell in Dublin. We got Lisa 122 in Tasmania, Australia. She says, "It looks like the markets in the USA are banking on Biden win. What do you think about what do you think about the overall economy with a Biden win?"
I don't think the markets are banking on a Biden win. I think people are interpreting the markets to mean that. The U.S. stock market is a computer-controlled, computer algorithm momentum market. There's so much money that is traded purely based on momentum. The U.S. market could care less if I was president or Mike, if you were president, because it's all looking at the trend. There's just trillions and trillions of dollars that are all in these momentum strategies. It's like, if moving averages up, yes, buy. I mean, it just pretty much doesn't care. So right. The whole notion that the market, quote unquote, is pricing anything is, give me back human traders and I'll answer the question. But I want to say more than 50% of the market is computer traded. No possible. And I think it's much higher than that, actually. So I don't think the markets are really pricing in anything. I think the markets in the U.S. are stupid. Because again, it's all a momentum trade. Higher prices beget higher prices. What was the second part of her question?
Was basically this. No. This is Biden win will think. What do you think about the overall economy with a Biden win? So basically, the markets are interpreting. You said they're interpreting a Biden win.
Yeah, I don't think it makes any difference. I think, and again, this comes back to my view that presidents don't make the economy. I mean, the economy is just way too big, but everyone wants to base it on one person. The reality is we are long over. I mean, we're probably in a recession. So the notion that, okay, so I'd push back and ask the question then is, so what is it that Biden's got that Trump can't do? Mm-hmm. What is so special that he has that no other president in history has ever had that he's going to come in and do that is magically going to make what is going to be a horrendous debt collapse of a recession turn into something better, turn into roses? And the answer is nobody has that.
Ain't gonna fly. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, who you put in there
is do more stimulus, do more QE, and guess what? It doesn't work. It can work in the short term, but overall, the more debt, and we've seen this again, as you mentioned earlier, Mike, in a question about Japan. Mm-hmm. Look at Japan's a perfect example. If all this stuff worked, then Japan should have just absurd rates of inflation. Their economy should be booming, and anyone watching from Japan shaking their head, going, "Yeah, the economy here isn't that great."
We actually have quite a few people watching from Japan tonight, actually. We have a restream. Someone's restreaming this transmission on one of the Japanese restream platforms there for us. I actually asked him earlier today, and he's restreaming that. So hopefully it's being shown out there, because every country has their own kind of like YouTube. Like Brazil has their own, but people still come to YouTube as a whole. But there's a lot of countries breaking out, and they're restreaming and multi-streaming on different platforms. So we got Eddie Monaco is in Johannesburg. He's asking, do you see another round of stimulus before the election? By the way, I see a Biden victory as a bigger hindrance on the U.S. economy.
I do not, and I have been very clear, I do not think we'll see a stimulus before the election. We have 1 week, effectively 1 week to get it done. I don't think either party is going to cross the line, and even then, we've been hearing from the Senate that they're not likely to support it. So no, I have said we won't, and the problem is we will see one after the election. The question always becomes what will be after the election? Will it be in November? I don't think so. I think it's more likely closer to February.
We got Low Roller Scratcher asking again, would your guest ever consider moving to Mexico and still work in California? It will be a lot cheaper than living in the United States.
Nope. I'm pretty set on likely going to Florida.
Florida's good.
Well, here's the thing, Mike. I want to be near the happiest place on earth, so when I have a bad day, I can go be happy.
You go on the teacup ride.
Right?
The children's teacup ride that goes like this, you know?
Yeah, my wife wants to go on Tinkerbell every day. So, hey, there you go.
Mm-hmm. We got Sniper Dog Grufo is asking, Mike Martins, ask Stephen, are central banks more harmful than helpful?
Yes. I mean, look, we're told that we need central bankers, and look what they've done. Everything they touch, they're not like Midas. They're the opposite of Midas. Everything they turn, it turns to garbage.
Mm-hmm.
The United States, there was a time in the world that we didn't have central bankers. In every country, we didn't. And the world worked. In the United States, we had periods where we didn't have central bankers. And guess what? It was fine. But we're told we need them. And if not, there would be utter chaos. And the reality is we have more problems with them than we would without them.
Matthew from Melbourne, Australia, from the state of Victoria, is asking Mike Martins his opinion on the incoming digital dollar.
I think we already have a digital dollar. When I log into my bank account, I see digital dollars. So I have trouble with this whole notion that we're going to have a second currency. Look, there's a lot of bills that are sitting on Congress right now. And in history, there are always a lot of bills that go to Congress. It doesn't mean they actually get passed.
Mm-hmm.
So far there's bills there doesn't mean anything. But the notion that we're going to have a digital dollar when I already have digital dollars, to me it does. I don't know where all this is going, and I'm not saying this. I'm not saying that the question is bad. I'm just trying to figure out what all the point of all these bills are when we already have something that does that. So I don't really know what the agenda is, but I don't see anything. I don't expect these bills to go anywhere.
Okay. From Nitros 4 is saying, Mike Martins, when the dollar picks back up, will that crash emerging markets?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
No question about it.
I see the Brazilian real taking a massive hit. And the Argentinian peso taking a enormous hit. And you got to remember, over 300 million people live in South America. That's going to be a huge.
Well, yeah, and the other factor is, with the dollar as a reserve currency, you have tens of trillions of dollars in foreign denominated dollar debt. So you're going to have these foreign countries that need dollars. And what are they going to do to get them? They're going to print currency to swap for dollars, which is just only going to make the situation worse. So yeah, absolutely. I expect it to be a massive negative for emerging markets.
So we got Lord Humongous, who comments a lot on the channel and comes on the show quite a bit, says all fiats return to zero.
Someday.
That should be the cover of your next book, Stephen. All fiats return.
I'm pretty sure somebody's already written that book.
Come on. Do you got a book in mind?
And I've never written a book, so. But yeah, eventually they all will. That's always the game: is how long can you make them last? But yeah, there's absolutely right. They'll all return to zero.
Are you ever planning on writing? You're so extremely knowledgeable, and would you ever plan on maybe putting something together?
I have not planned on that right now. No. Okay. Maybe someday. I don't want to say that I never will. I just don't know what I would write about that people would actually want to read.
Because I just want you could get some audio speech recognition thing, say what you have to say, and it writes it out on the screen, and boom, you could write a book in 3 hours.
I don't know what people would want. I'm surprised people even go to my YouTube channel. I didn't know people would find that interesting. So I don't know if I wrote a book, I don't know what I would write about that people would find interesting.
Well, what we've been talking about here, I mean, there's some really good points that were brought up here by our the live stream here and questions. A lot of questions flowing through here. We almost have 400 people watching. And
That's because you're a big star, Mike.
well, no. Seeing that other channel like CNN, I don't want to pick on CNN all the time, but they got 3 million subscribers and it's like 43 people watching. So it's like,
Oh. Well, I know, man. When you get,
okay,
they don't have the cool jacket that you do. I need to get me one of those. That there you go.
See, this T-shirt here is on the Mike in the Night. It's on the Mike Martin's Teespring store.
Oh, is it? I might have to give me one of those.
It actually says Mike on the Night in the back.
Oh, does it really?
It does, yeah, and it says it actually here on the bottom here with you on the bottom of the shirt it says Mike in the Night.
But you can't get the cool coat with it though.
Oh, this jacket is very special to me. This is a very special jacket.
Can't get that though.
It's a very special jacket. It was made for a purpose. It was made to go in the junk, and I just said, I'll just buy that, and I did.
I dig the jacket, man.
That's the Mike in the Night kind of thing. I'm gonna, when I go to stateside or visit, I'm gonna dress like this, and I'm gonna wear my plaid pants with this jacket and walk around.
Dude, man, you're mad. Woohoo!
Yeah. Oh, and the glasses. Don't forget these.
No, that is the deal right there, man. You put the glasses on, that's the complete look.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'll be patted down. They won't even put me through the metal. Pat this guy down now.
Yeah.
So Alan Howick asks, has your guest talked about Bitcoin? Yes, he has. We covered pretty much I think we covered pretty much. We went from currency to bonds, back to stocks, back to bonds. Then we went to crypto. Then we went back to debt. And then we went back to Australia. Then we went back to Argentina. Then we went back all the way across.
I know a lot of serious questions. I'm surprised we didn't get any weird questions.
Well, somebody asked how many legs a praying mantis had.
Yeah, I didn't know the answer.
Yeah. So we got Arthur saying, thanks, Stephen. This is the best show ever.
Thanks, Arthur.
And then we got somebody else here on the other chat. I got another chat going, but it's like in Russian, and I can't read it. like from another platform. It's been streaming there every time, and I haven't.
They're like, why won't you answer our questions?
No, well, they know that already. They know they're talking between each other.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're all talking between each other because there's one guy named Sergey, who's monitoring. He's working in a monitoring station in Antarctica.
Oh wow!
And he actually watches this Mike in the Night. That's
cool.
Yeah. So I'm surprised he hasn't sent a message because he always does. Always sends messages on Mike in the Night when he's in Antarctica. So
that's cool.
Yeah, and yeah. So we've had you, dude. This is probably your longest, an hour and 36 minutes.
That's pretty much a record.
Whoa! See what a good whiskey or top shelf beer could do when you're talking. Yeah. You could just talk all night, man.
Well, the battery on my laptop doesn't talk all night, so we'll see.
Okay. What would happen if the U.S. dollar, if China began to issue new gold-backed currency, cryptocurrency, to rival the U.S. dollar as a world reserve currency? That was asked before on a couple of other shows. So China is working on something, and China has been buying gold, and so has Russia.
Yeah. So who cares? Okay. So what's the real question we're asking here? Is China trying to replace the dollar as the world's reserve currency? And the answer is they're not trying to do. They don't want to do that. What they're saying, and what we're seeing around the world is people are saying, look, the current system is not working. Mm-hmm. We know it doesn't work, and we need something else, but nobody knows what that other thing is. But I can guarantee you, China does not want to be the world's reserve currency. It's a really simple explanation: is what is China? They're a purpose-built exporting nation. They've got a very large population that is poor that they're trying to bring into effectively the modern world. And in order to be a world's reserve currency, well, aside from the fact that nobody would trust China to handle that anyways, even if it is gold backed. So So let's get past that. China has to be a net importer.
Right. Right.
That's not going to happen. And trust me, they don't want it. All they're saying is, look, the current dollar-based system isn't working. Now, if it was working fine, they wouldn't have a problem with it. The issue we have here is it's not working. It hasn't been working. No one wants to admit it, and no one wants to put their collective heads together and say, okay, it's not working. We need something better. So yeah, they put together something so they and Russia can do some trading. Big deal.
Anne is saying, your YouTube channel is great. You are a great teacher, and you are so funny. I enjoy it a lot. Thank you.
Well, Anna, I appreciate you being a fan, and that means a lot to me. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you plugged me on your last video. I saw that.
Dude, how can I not?
You said, I'm going to be having drinks. Mike will be buying drinks and cocktails on Mike in the Night.
And appetizers. I was very clear about appetizers.
Are we talking Costco appetizers, or are we talking like that really, like, shrimp and really expensive stuff?
I don't know. I thought we were going to go to some sleazy bar,
Yeah.
And have beers and shots and greasy appetizers. That's what I thought we were going to do.
Steven Sewell just sent me $10. I think he sent me $10 twice tonight. Great show
Awesome.
tonight, Mike. Thank you, Steve Van Meter, for various topics and discussion. So I'm going to use that $10 and the other $10 that was sent to me. That should get me to downtown Detroit.
Woo!
Woo!
Why do you want to go there?
I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I remember.
Is that the gimmick? Send Mike money, he'll go somewhere. I love it.
I remember when my car broke down. No, it didn't break down. I was running out of gas in Detroit when I crossed the border, and I was on my way to Florida. It's a long story. So I went to the gas station, and the first gas station off the first ramp, and there was a bunch of people in there, just people, like random people asking for money, and it was really weird. Some guy came up to me and says, "Dude, I just got out of jail, man. I'm gonna borrow $1. I need $1, man. I just got out of jail." And it was like, get me in my car and get me down to Florida.
Yeah.
I filled up, and I didn't get out of the car till I think past Cincinnati. I think I was way past Cincinnati. That gas took me from Detroit past Cincinnati. I think I had to fill up somewhere in Kentucky or somewhere.
Oh man, you should have stopped in Cincinnati. Got you some chili.
Yeah. You're looking tired, buddy.
I know, it's been a long day for me. You got any more questions?
Let me see here. No, we got a lot of people talking about someone just arrived back from Seattle.
Or maybe those 3 cocktails I've been drinking during the show are catching up to me.
Nations will decide to exchange it for purchase. Okay, gold will break the dollar hegemony when nations around the world decide to exchange it for purchasing commodities. Guys, I'm sorry when I'm reading this and I break up when I'm reading it. It's because it's moving at the same time I'm trying to read it, and it's moving up.
No, gold is not going to be it's not going to replace the dollar. Something else will, but it won't be. It might have gold in it, but gold is not going to break the dollar hegemony. Not going to happen.
Dion Williams is asking, Steve, can you give some bullet points on why you think current global reserve currency system is so inefficient?
Well, it just isn't working. I mean, look at the fact that, I don't have a list. Sorry, I apologize. I don't have bullet points, but I'll just say this: it doesn't work. It's not working. I mean, if it was working, I wouldn't be on Mike and I talking about it. Mm-hmm. We'd be talking about something else. I might not even have a YouTube channel. I mean, that's the problem is we're talking about something that shouldn't be talked about because it should just work. But the fact that we're talking about it is telling us that the system isn't working. I mean, when you really, I think that's the key is sometimes we get into the weeds on this thing and we have to step back and, you got to remember when I was younger, no one cared when there was a Federal Reserve press conference. No one listened to the things. Now the world's freaking stops when Powell does his press conference, not every month, but whenever they have the Fed press conferences, because they need to know what's going on. It's telling us is the system isn't working. Now, can we dig into it and find out exactly why it's not working? Well, there's lots of reasons why it doesn't working. Who cares why it's not working? You know, when your car was out of gas, you didn't ask why. The solution was put gas in it.
That's right.
So the system isn't working. The problem is it was never designed to work in this modern world. It needs to be overhauled and updated. The problem is no one wants to actually talk about it. So what are we doing? We're all talking about it because we're saying, hey, the system's work. It's not working. The answer is no one's listening to the point where they're trying to fix it.
Yeah.
And what will it take to fix it? Unfortunately, it will have to take a catastrophic event where people realize that quantitative easing doesn't do all these mythical things that people have assigned its ability to, raising stock prices and house prices and all the other things that they believe it does, before people are willing to get together and say, okay, hey, that isn't working. Let's start to change it.
Okay, so we got that was actually a really good answer. John F. Kennedy couldn't have said that better.
Probably because back when he was president, no one really cared about monetary policy. Wasn't really something you need to worry about. That's the issue. Is suddenly we all care about the intricacies of what quantitative easing is. We shouldn't have to worry about it. If monetary policy worked, we wouldn't have to care. But it's not working, so we're trying to figure out all the problems with it. And the more you dig into it, the more you realize, the whole system is broken. And it's not just in the United States, it's all around the world because we're all using effectively derivatives of the same system.
Okay. We got Anthony, Corleone here? What did he say? Is your guest investing in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency?
No, I do not and have never owned any cryptocurrencies. I have largely avoided it, partially due to the fact that I don't really understand it, as well as I know many of your guests do. And I have a view of if you don't understand something, you shouldn't really invest in it. The second reason is due to my licenses. In fact, I talked to my partner, who he and I own a securities firm together. In fact, I asked him last week. I'm like, what are the rules about me owning that? Is it and he goes, I'm not sure. I opened up an account, but I didn't buy any because I realized that that's his job in our firm is to know the legal issues. He's like, yeah, I should probably find out what the rules are because I don't know. So it could be I'm also maybe prohibited from buying it, or I have to follow special rules. So not knowing and not wanting to get in trouble is a second reason I just have not bothered to buy it. Although, from my perspective, I don't know why the securities law would care if I owned euros or Australian dollars or Canadian dollars, but maybe they care if I own crypto. I have no idea.
Yeah, because they were giving people a really tough time. I think it was the IRS was giving people a time when they got audited, and they were just taking people's money away and stuff. That was back a few years back when a year and a half or 2 years when crypto went to 20 large. I don't know if
because people were not reporting their capital gains.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought it was just they just took it away because they felt like it.
No. The IRS didn't have a problem with it. The IRS says, look, you made a capital gain. And the IRS was pissed that the crypto exchanges weren't reporting, we're reporting 1099s. And they're like, look, the fact is you bought this stuff. It's an investment of some sort. You made a gain and you didn't pay taxes on it. And that's all they wanted.
Dion Williams has another question for you. He says, Steve, would you expect to see the first signs of a crash starting in emerging markets? I have been watching videos of Brent Johnson, who thinks it would be EM countries falling like dominoes.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to see the problem will start when you see Treasury bonds really make their final move up, and I think they're pretty close to doing that after their pullback over the last, say, 2 weeks. And then the dollar will start to rise, and then emerging markets will crumble. I mean, yeah, the dominoes will fall, but I look at the Treasury market as where I see it starting.
Okay, Treasury. Okay,
but Brent Johnson could be right too. I mean, I'm not saying that it could be a simultaneous event. I mean, he's a super smart guy, and he's a friend of mine, and it's possible the catalyst could be there. I tend to look at treasuries first.
Okay, because I'm seeing in a more international market. I honestly see South America getting hit really hard, real fast in the next couple of weeks.
Good.
I see, and then I see after South America, I could see Europe following, and then Eurasia, like the more like that side. I'm just kind of seeing the dominoes. Like for the longest time, I've been wrong. I was saying that the if any market was going to go down first, I always thought it was the Australian market was going to go first before any other in the Commonwealth, and I was wrong. It looks like Canada with the government budget sheet of purchases and debt and all the stuff just threw me for a curveball today when I saw that today. I couldn't believe that, and it went up 431% in like 2 months.
Wow.
That's incredible. I've never seen anything like that. And a lot of people I've been showing this to, it's on Bloomberg, just can't make heads or tails of it. That's a lot of spending for government. I mean, they're never going to make that back.
Well, no, of course not. But yeah, I come back to Treasury. So I look at what happened the last, say, week and a half, and yields went up. Everyone got excited. And what does that tell you? It tells you that potentially financial conditions are easing. But what did the credit data tell us? Well, we saw the August data that I covered on my show, I think on Wednesday or Thursday, showed that there's actually a broad contraction.
I saw that.
Which is very unusual. You shouldn't. So what is that? It's already telling us the economy is rolling over. And then we see in the weekly H.8 data that, we're sitting at contraction. We're in contraction, not almost across the board, but close to it. So to me, the Treasury bond market, if it starts to rally, which I expect it will off of this recent low, that's really where we see the beginning of it.
We got Dion Williams asking, why do you think it would be Australia first, Mike? Well, because the debt to GDP level for household families is over 200%, and I think Switzerland is the next one after, and I think it's Canada after that. And I thought Australia would be first because of the cost of real estate is just horrendous, and too much foreign investing, too much speculating, there's just too much happening in Australia. Their waterworks systems is all privatized. A lot of their mining in Perth is owned by foreign entities. They're rolling out the 5G, and they're rolling out the social credit scores in Darwin, Australia. I've been following Australia, and for many years, I thought it would be the first domino in the Commonwealth to fall, but it looks like from that sheet that we saw today that I posted on the community section on the channel puts Canada in first place, and yeah, that's my answer to Dion Williams. And let's see if we got. It looks like I don't want you to fall asleep here. If you want to go, if you got to go, we can go because it's been 2 hours, and
I know that's a lot from me.
Yeah,
and she even the glasses are falling off, so she's getting a little tired out too.
Yeah, I know you pulled an all-nighter the night before, and you've been working all day today, and you took so much time out of your busy schedule to come on with us. It really means a lot to us here on this channel that you came, and showed some love and support. It really means a lot.
Well, Mike, like I said, you're a big fan of my show. I'm a big fan of yours. All I know is someday I want to wear that coat, even if for a minute. I'm gonna wear the coat.
Yeah, you will. I'll just get it. I could get it sent out and copied. I know someone that could copy it.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can have my own. I just want to wear the coat.
Okay. Fair enough. All
right, buddy.
Any last words, Stephen?
I will just appreciate all your fans. Thank you for the love, and for those looking for macro, come check me out, and where we talk macro and like I said, try to make sense of markets that just really don't make any sense. But that's what macro is, trying to figure out the big picture.
Okay, Stephen, thank you so much. God bless you, and we'll see you soon. Okay.
All right. Look forward to the next time, buddy.
Thanks, brother.
All right. Bye.